Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, MOED KATAN Daf Chaf. We begin 6 lines from the bottom of Yud Tes Amud Beis. Says the Gemara, Ba'aminei Abaye Mirav. Abaye asks Rava, or some say Rabba. He asked him the following question: what happens if Kavroi Beregel, they buried during Regel? Now, the reason why the Gemara, which really draws from the Mishnah, chooses the term Kvura to describe the initiation of the Avelos period, Taisus already answered on the Yud Tes Amud Aleph. The reason is because Avelos begins Mish'as Stimas HaGoyla, from time of burial. Therefore, the Gemara chooses this term to describe the event, the tragic event of the Kvura, of the Misa, which initiates the Avelos. So what happened was that the Misa occurs, the Kvura occurs on Yom Tov itself, Kavroi Beregel. Now, as we learned yesterday, when the event occurs with enough time, it occurs a few days before the Regel and he's already into the Shiva, then the Regel comes and cancels, cuts short the Shiva. He started the Shleishim, the Regel comes and cuts short the Shleishim. But if the event takes place on Yom Tov itself, Yom Tov has no effect on the Shiva and the Shleishim, and he has to go and make that up after the Yom Tov. So what happens in the following case? Kavroi Beregel, and basically he has to keep the Shleishim after, count 30 days after Yom Tov. But perhaps shall we say that Regel Oila Loila Minyan Shleishim, the days of Yom Tov, due to the fact that, after all, he's not going to shave or take a haircut on Yom Tov itself, due to the Yom Tov restrictions, not because of Avelos, because of Yom Tov. He must hold back from Tasporis. So you have an interesting case. He's not taking a haircut during Yom Tov because of Yom Tov, but in effect he's really adhering somewhat to the dinim of Shleishim as well, because he's not meant to take a haircut during Shleishim. So in a way he's keeping Shleishim on Yom Tov itself, not because of the Shleishim, because of Yom Tov. But factually, practically, he's adhering to the restrictions of Shleishim. Interesting shaila. Do those days count towards the Shleishim or not? So when you're keeping it, but not for that reason, shall we say, well, it can count for the Shleishim? Or perhaps since the reason for him not taking a haircut is Yom Tov based, not Avelos based, you can't count those days towards the 30 of the Avelos. Explains the Gemara. There was never a question of whether days of Yom Tov can count for the Shiva. Why? He doesn't observe Shiva during Yom Tov. It only starts after the Yom Tov is over. Certainly Yom Tov can't count as a Shiva. The question is only Leminyan Shleishim, whether it counts for the Shleishim, the Kanaga Mitzvah Shleishim Beregel. After all, he's going to be observing the mitzvahs, the restrictions of Shleishim. For instance, refraining from a haircut during Regel, just as everybody refrains from haircutting during Regel. So, in effect, he's keeping to the dinim of Shleishim. Should those days count? Can he discount those days from the Shleishim total? What is the halacha Amar Lei? Rabbi responds, Eila. It doesn't count. Practically, he's not cutting his hair, but why? Because of Yom Tov, not because of Avelos. It can't count to the 30 of Avelos. Esve, he asked the Makashma Brisa, where we seem to see that it does count. So his fellow passes away 2 days before Regel. 2 days is not enough to be considered to have really entered the advanced stage of the Shiva. You need at least 3 days, which is the critical period of the Shiva. In order for that to be considered a developed Shiva, an advanced Shiva, in which case the Regel will come and cut it short. But if it's merely 2 days, the Shiva remains intact, unaffected, and therefore, although during Regel he ignores the Shiva, you're not meant to do Avelos Beregel, it's a Zman of Simcha, V'samachta B'chagecha, but he has to make up the missing days, the missing 5 days after Yom Tov. But since, after all, it's already more than 7 days since the actual event, we have special leniencies applied to those 5 days after Yom Tov. Typically, an Aval doesn't do malacha, but in this case, we have some kulais who malachta inas adei acherim. So, if it's a case of davar avid, as Tesis explains, a question of financial loss, others can do the malacha on his behalf, even in his own home, which isn't generally allowed. It appears perhaps that he's involved in it, but in this case, we allow it. Number 2, v'avoda v'shevchaisav oisim b'tzinam b'teich beisei. His servants can do their work quietly in his home as well. So we have special kulais which are applicable during these days, which are make-up days for the missing Shiva days. The fact is, it's already after 7 days from the actual event, so we have special kulais. Number 2, says the Brisa, a difference between this and a typical classic standard Shiva. Ve'ein rabim misasken boy. Rashi, 3 lines from the bottom, says, Koloimar. Ein tzrichen lenachmei. Rabim misasken means they don't interact with him any longer. They're not menachem him. They don't come console him. Ein tzrichen lenachmei achar regel. You know why? Shekvar nichamu shiva yamim beregel. They already did that for 7 days running throughout the regel itself. As the Brisa explains on top, Shekvar nisasken beregel. Fact is, they came to comfort him and to console him during the regel itself. Apparently, that's not a stira to the regel. That happens in the Yom Tov itself. So we split the Avelis into several parts. The Nichum Avelim of the Shiva occurs during the regel itself, 7 days running from the actual event, but the Avel's observance of the various halachas, that's inconsistent with the Simchas HaRegel, that takes place after Yom Tov. Klolo Shel Davar, we follow the following formula: Kol Shehu Mishum Evel, Regel Mafsik. Any sort of Evel observance, any sort of mourning on behalf of the Avel, the Regel cuts it short, which basically means you have to make it up after Yom Tov. In this case, he had 2 before, 5 after. V'kol Shehu Mishum Iskei Rabim, anything involving the community, i.e., their Nicham Avelim, Ein Regel Mafsika, the Regel doesn't get in the way, they continue into the Regel, and therefore there's no makeup period necessary. So that's the first case, the Reish of the Brisa speaking, where the Kvura took place 2 days before Regel, and the Shiva begins, but then concludes after the Yom Tov. Kavru Shloisha Yamim b'Sefer Regel. Let's say the Kvura takes place on the Yom Tov itself. So it's a 7-day Pesach. On day 5, there was the Kvura. So you have 5, 6, and 7. First 3 days of the Shiva are the last 3 days of Pesach. Kavru Shloisha Yamim b'Sefer Regel. So in this case, Moine Shiva Achar Regel. He has to make up 7 days of Shiva. Right? So 7 days after Yom Tov, he will sit Shiva. Now, there's a difference regarding Nicham Avel. Arba Yamim Harishonim. They already menachem him during the Yom Tov itself for 3 days, right? Days 5, 6, and 7, which are really the first 3 days of his Nicham Avelim period. So they're only missing 4 days. Arba Yamim Harishonim, the first 4 days after Yom Tov, Rabbim ask him, but they come and they console him. That's it. 7 days of Nicham Avelim are up. Shloish Yamim Achrein, the next 3 days, Ein Rabbim misaskim boy, they no longer interact with him, meaning Nicham Avelim is up. Shekvar nisasku by Beregel, because as we explained, they already will menachem him for 3 days during the regel itself. So 3 plus 4 is 7. Now the Brisa concludes with a phrase, a 3-word phrase: V'regel oile loy. Rashi says, well, apparently we're not speaking about the regel counting for Shiva. It doesn't. He has to make up the Shiva. It counts for Shloshim. You can count the days of Yom Tov towards the Shloshim. Now, which case is the Brisa referring to? We have the Reisha, where the Kvur takes place before the regel. He starts his Shiva and Shloshim before Yom Tov. We have the Sefer, where the Kvur takes place on regel itself, in which case he only begins everything after Yom Tov. What is the Brisa referring to when we say regel counts for Shloshim? Ma'alav HaSefer, perhaps we're speaking about the second case, where the tragic event took place on Yom Tov itself, in which case he didn't even begin observing his Shiva and Shloshim. And still the Brisa says, regel can count for Shiva, for Shloshim, I mean. But the fact is, he's not taking a haircut on regel because of Yom Tov. and that can count for shleishim as well. That's a kasha on Rabba who says regel never counts for shleishim. Loi, that's not what the Bryce is referring to. Areisha, it's referring to the first halacha, where the kfur took place before Yom Tov. So what's the difference? Very simple. Since he starts his avelis before Yom Tov, so it's already 2 days that he's not cutting his hair because of the avelis. So now when he enters Yom Tov and he continues refraining from tasporis, avoiding a haircut, it relates back to the avelis. It's as though the avelis is continuing into Yom Tov. So his lack of tasporis is now being attributed to the avelis, which had already been initiated before the Yom Tov. In this case, I understand the days of Yom Tov, the restrictions imposed on Yom Tov, the tasporis that he's not taking on Yom Tov will count for the shleish, but only in that case. Masha in the safe, where the Misa took place on Yom Tov itself. So now he's not going to cut his hair because of Yom Tov. He didn't begin Avelos yet. So the lack of Giluach on Yom Tov is because of Yom Tov, and I can't count for the Shlish. Eisvei, listen to this next kasha from another Bryce. We were going to prove that even if the Kfur takes place on Yom Tov itself, the fact is, he's not cutting his hair because of whatever reason. It can count for the Shlish. Regel Eilol Leminyan Shlishin. Yom Tov can count for the 30. Keitzad Kavru Betchilas HaRegel. The Kfur takes place on the first day of Yom Tov, so it's already on Yom Tov itself. Even in this case, Moine Shiva Achar Regel. Firstly, when it comes to Shiva, that doesn't happen during Yom Tov, right? As we explained, the Aval doesn't express his mourning during Yom Tov, so he has to start and end after Yom Tov. Make it up for 7 days after Yom Tov. But since the fact is it's already way past 7 days since the actual event, we apply some leniencies, as we explained before, when it comes to Malacha. Umalach, Tainasis Aideh Cherim, Vavada V'Shiv Chaysev Oisim Betzinim Tech Beisai. And likewise, when it comes to Nichem Avelim, that's up. Ve'ein Rabim Misaskim Boy, they don't come interact, they don't come console him. Shekvar Misaskim Boy Beregel, because they've already done that during Yom Tov itself. As we explained earlier, during Yom Tov there is Nichem Avelim taking place. The Brisa concludes with the same words. V'regel oileloi. The Yom Tov counts towards the Shloshim. Now what are we speaking about in this case? The event took place on Yom Tov itself. The Kfura was on day 1 of Yom Tov. And still we see the fact that he has restrictions on account of Yom Tov. He can't take a haircut, etc. That will count for the Shloshim of Avelis as well. To Yufta, it's a refutation on Rabbah, we see clearly. And that could count for the Shlish. Kiyasa Ravin. When Ravin arrived from Eretz Yisrael, he was a Talmud of Rabbi Yehuda. And Amar Rabbi Yehuda, he quoted Rabbi Yehuda as saying, Afilu cover beregel, even if the Kfur takes place on Yom Tov itself, we can count the days of Yom Tov towards the Shlish. V'chein, Oirilei Rabbi Lezer. Likewise, Rabbi Lezer paskin for his son, and Rabbi Das Berei, that Afilu cover beregel, even if the Kfur takes place on Yom Tov itself. He hadn't really started his Avelis before Yom Tov. It's Yom Tov. He's experiencing a tragedy. He's not cutting hair regardless. It's the Yom Tov that imposes that restriction still. It can count for the Shlish. So that's the conclusion of the Gemara. So again, we had an interesting Shaila. He's not cutting his hair because of Yom Tov. Can that count for the Avelis of Shlishim as well? The answer is yes. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in a Bryce. Let's go back to Shiva. We learned in the Mishnah that if he experiences 3 days of Shiva, which Rashi explained is the Ikar Avelis. Taisus brings a Gemara, Shlosh Yomim Lebechi. That's the critical phase of the Shiva. So once he's past that and Regel arrives, it cuts it short. Tanu Rabbanon. We're going to learn in the Brisa that it's a machlekes. How much Shiva has to be observed in order for the Regel to come and cut it short? Kiyem Kfiyas Amit. So an Avel would overturn his bed. So he was Noyeg Avelus, Shloish Yomim Kanyom Regel, for 3 days before Yom Tov. And then the Regel arrives, it cuts it short, it's over. He no longer has to observe any Avelus after Yom Tov. Shiva is over. So you need 3 days. You don't need 3 days. Even 1 day of Avelus is enough for the Regel to come cancel it. Even just a short moment. Amar Belazar Shimon, it's actually machlekes b'shamai b'sil. Heinen divrei b'shamai, heinen divrei b'sil. These two opinions belong to b'shamai b'sil. Sheb'shamai oimrim, they hold shloisha yam, they're machmer. He has to keep 3 days of Shiva for the regal to cancel the rest. B'sil oimrim afilu yam echad. Even 1 day, afilu shah achat, is a girsa, even a short moment suffices. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Some say it was Amar le Rabbi Yehuda and le Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Ula Rav Huna. What's the halacha? Afilu yom achad, afilu shah achas. Even just a short moment. Rav Amar, he disagrees. Halacha Katan didan. We pass like our shita, like our mission. The Amar shleish. Only once he's passed 3 days, then the regular will come and knock off the rest. And the Mefarshim point out that apparently our Tana held it wasn't machlekes b'shamai b'sil. Everybody agrees you need three days, otherwise he wouldn't follow b'shamai. Apparently he held that all agree 3 is needed. There's a story involving Ravina, who was Ikla, who encountered or visited L'Sura, the town of Sura, the Paras, at the river Pras. Amar le Rav Chaviva Ravina. So Rav Chaviva, a local resident, turned to Ravina. Hilchos Amai, how do we pass him? 3 days, 1 day. Amar le Yafilu Yom Echad, Yafilu Shah Achaz. Even a short moment of Avelis suffices to allow the regal to cancel, and that's what we pass him today. Even a short moment of Avelis before the regal is enough for the regal to come and cancel and cut short the Avelis. Yosef Rabbi Chia bar Abba. So Rabbi Chia was sitting together with Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Tzak Nafcha, these 3 Akila, at the entranceway to the home of the Rabbi Yitzchak bar Elazar. Nafek Milsa b'bnai. So they had a discussion regarding the following topic. The question was, Minayin la'avelus Shiva. How do we know that the first phase of Avelus extends for 7 days? Where's the remez? Where's the asmachta in the Torah? During time of tragedy, Hashem says, I will transform the holiday, the chag, into a time of mourning. There's a correlation between the two things as per their time frame. Machag Shiva, just as a chag stands for 7 days, Pesach is for 7 days, Sukkot is for 7 days, aside from Shmini Atzeres, which Taisa says is a separate Yom Tov, based on the Yerushalmi. So Machag Shiva, Avelus Shiva, Avelus lasts for 7 days. Ve'ematzeres. Why can't we compare it to Shvuos, the Chad Yomu, which is a 1 day Yom Tov? Avelus should be 1 day. You're right. We're actually going to compare Avelus to 2 types of Yom Tov. Some Avelus extend for 7 days, and sometimes the Avelus is a 1 day event, like Shvuos. It depends on the circumstance. If one hears a Shmoo, he hears news about a tragic event in the family, but it's already old news. Shmoo rechaika, it's already the Gemara says it's past 30 days from the actual event. So when he hears that news, he has to observe some sort of Avelus, but a very limited Avelus. How do we know that this type of Shmoo, this type of news that arrives, only generates a short-lived Avelus? It's a 1 day event. I'm going to overturn the Chag into Evel. We find by Shavuos, even a 1 day event is called a Chag. So there are 2 possible correlations here. Avelus can connect to Pesach, to Sukkot. Typically it's a 7 day event. But a Shmor Rechaika, old news that arrives so late, that generates a 1 day Avelus, and is comparable to the Chag of Shavuos. So once we're on the topic of Shmor Kroiva, Shmor Rechaika, we're actually going to learn that it's a machlekes Tanmai. Shmor Kroiva, recent news, Nehegas Shiva, Ushleishim. So if one is informed about a recent tragedy in the family, he has to observe Shiva, Shleishim, Shmor Rechaika. But if it's old news, Eina Nehegas El Yom Echad, he observes Avelus merely for 1 day. Eizahi Kroiva, Ve'ezahi Rechaika. What's considered Kroiva or Rechaika? Kroiva means within 30 days of the event. Rechaika means Lachar Shleishim past 30. Divrei Rabbi Kiva. So according to this, Kroiva is 7, Rechaika is merely 1 day. V'chachamim Oimrim, they disagree. Achas Shmor Kroiva, whether it's new news, V'achas Shmor Rechaika, or old news, Like I guess Shiva Shloshim, it's always going to be the standard Shiva followed by the Shloshim period as well. Amar Rabba Bar Brachana Rabbi Yochanan. How do we pass? Kol Malkim Shata Moitza Yachid Mekel. Typically, when you have an individual, a Tana and a Meira, who adopts a lenient approach, Rabbi Machmir, you have the multitudes against them who are Machmir. So even if they're Machmir, you follow the Machmir because typically we say the Rabbim are probably in the right. Why then are there so many that agree that you're meant to be following that shita in this case to be machmer, whatever that they're saying, it's a right, an indication of some sort that is the right approach, and therefore we say halacha k'rabbim, we follow the rabbim. So although it's not mandated, in fact, Taisus brings many times we paskin like the yachid if it appears to us that his approach is really correct, but typically speaking, we assume the rabbim are in the right. It's not like a bezdin. The bezdin, achi rabbim lahatos. The majority carries the day. That determines the position of the bezdin. But when it's just a matter of halachis and rabbanim and tanaim amoraim, not in a bezdin setting, then there's no din of yochid v'rabbim that you have to follow the rabbim. Achi rabbim lahatos, you follow the rabbim. It's just a formula that we apply to halacha, to psak halacha. The fact that there are so many that adopt a certain view is an indication of some sorts that view is the correct one. But Tosha says we have exceptions to this rule. So this is just the standard typical. Typically it's the rabbim that we follow. Chutz mizu, except for this halacha of avelos. Shafa b'der Rabbi Kiva mekel. In this case, the Rabbi Kiva is the mekel. He says that a shmur rechoike generates a limited form of avelos. Shafa b'der Rabbi Kiva mekel b'chachamim machmir, and they're machmir. Who do we paskin like? Halacha Rabbi Kiva, and it's only one day avelos. Damar Shmuel, halacha kedivrei mekel be'avel. When it comes to avelos, we have this Kabbalah that we are mekel. We always adopt the lenient sheet. There was a story involving Rabbi Chanina. Asir le Shmoo de'avur. He heard about his father who passed away, mibei chuzay, from that town. And this was after 30 days. A Shmoo rechoike. So what should I do? Asir l'kamei Rav Chisda. He approached Rav Chisda. Amalei Shmoo rechoike. It's only a one day avelos. There's a story involving Rav Nassim Barami. Heard about his mother's passing. From that town as well. And this was after 30 days. He approached Rav. Amalei tells him, Hari Amru. The conclusion is that the halacha only requires a one day avelos. So Rav Nassim asks Rav, how can you allow that? We have a price. When does this leniency apply? So one has 7 close relatives upon who is meant to be misabel. Right? As we're going to see in Amud Beis, or 7 akroivim. So 5 of those 7, brother, sister, son, daughter, wife, they only generate a one day avelos if it's a shmur rechoike. But parents are different. Aval al aviv v'imoy. Shiva Shloshim, even if it's old news, 7 and 30. Why are you allowing only one day? Amalei Chidai, he tells him, well, that's a shita that's not the consensus. It's the view of a yachid, of a das yachid, v'lo Yisrael and Kavasei. We don't hold like that. We hold that any type of avelos, be it father, mother, brother, doesn't matter. If it's Shmur Rechoike, if it's past the event, 30 days after the Tira, it's only a one day avelos. The Sanya. In the following brayso we're going to see who adopts that view, and we don't hold like that. Maso meis aviv shal Ritzadik beginzik. Ritzadik's father passes away in Ginzik. They only told him after 3 years. They held it from him. 3 years later, they found out about it. What do I do now? He came to ask Elisha. Shima and the other elders. They tell him, Noyeg Shiva Shloshim, 7 and 30. So it's their opinion, but the Chacham don't agree with this. There's another story. Rabbi Achya's son passes away in Goyla, and he heard about it way later. He observed a full Shiva, a full Shloshim. So it's their opinion, but the Chachamim on the whole disagree. The consensus is Shmur Rechoike is only noyeg one day in accordance with Shitas Rabbi Kiva. Halach Gedivrei Mekel Ba'av. Ain't is that so that Rabbi Achya would sit for 7 days by a Shmur Rechoike? We have a story that indicates otherwise. V'ha Rav. Rav was a nephew of Rabbi Chia, Bar Achva, the Rabbi Chia. He was Rabbi Chia's brother's son. Duhu Bar Achse, the Rabbi Chia. He was also his sister's son. Rashi explains, describes the whole family tree. It turns out that he was a nephew on both sides. Kisalak Lahasam, Rav arrives to Eretz Yisrael to visit his uncle, who lived in Eretz Yisrael. Amrleis, Rabbi Chia's uncle turns to him, tell me what's going on in the family. Abba Kaim, is your father still around? Samageris Aivu Kaim. Aivu was the father, who was Rabbi Chia's brother. Is he still living? And actually he wasn't. Rab didn't want to actually express that and say that he passed away, not meant to express being Moitzi Diba, so he indicated in a remez, in a hint. Amrleh, he responds to Rabbi Chia, Ima Kayemis, what about my mother, who's your sister as well? Why don't you ask about her? Is she around? So this way he was hinting to him that something was amiss. Amrleh, so Rabbi Chia responds, okay, Ima Kayemis, is your mother around? Amrleh, so Rabbi responds, Abba Kayim, what about my father? Is he around? So he got the hint. He realizes that both his brother and his sister had already passed away. And this was a Shmoo Rechaika, well after the fact. So what did Rabbi Chia do? So the uncle Rabbi Chia like this. Amalei l'shamei turns to his servant, Chaloitzli min alai, remove my shoes, as a sign of Avelus. But it's a short-lived Avelus, just for a moment. Immediately afterwards, we'll go to the bathhouse, which is Avel is not meant to do. Apparently the Avelus is just a short-lived event because it's a Shmoo Rechaika. It's come with me and bring my clothing to the Beis HaMerchatz. And we learn three things from here. Shema Mino Tlas. Number one, Shema Mino Aval also ben Ilas HaSandal. Aval may not wear shoes. Number two, Ushma Mino Shmoo Rechaika Eino Noihegas El Yom Echad. If it's late news, old news, it's only a one-day Avelus. But not even a full day. Ushma Mino Mitzvah Yom Kikula. As long as he observes part of that day, it's enough. You already experienced a day of Avelus even by just a few minutes. It's pretty clear that Rabbi Chia only kept one day Avelus by a Shmoo Rechaika. And here we learned that Rabbi Achia, who the Gemara assumes to be the same person, sat for 7 days by a Shmoo Rechaika. Answers the Gemara, two different people. Rabbi Chia Lechud is one Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Achia Lechud is another person, Rabbi Achia. So the bottom line is, Maskan is, Halacha is, a Shmur Kreva is a regular Avelus. A Shmur Rechaika generates a limited form of Avelus. It's only a one-day Avelus, and even that's not completely. It's even mitzvah same kikulai. And what is a Shmur Rechaika? He hears about it 30 days past the events. He's sort of out of the realm of the Avelus. It's already past 30. It's already disconnected from the event. So he keeps just a little bit covered, but it's not the true Avelus of 7 and 30. Zakti Gemara. Listen to this interesting shayla. Rabbi Yisrael bar Abba. Shama Shmo Kroiva Beregel. Let's say he got word about a relative passing away, and it's on Yom Tov. On Yom Tov itself, there's no Avelus. So on Yom Tov, when he heard about it, it was still within 30 days, which would necessitate a proper observance of Avelus. But Moitzah Yom Tov comes around, time to start the Avelus, it's already past 30. It counts for him. And now it's just a one-day Avelus that he keeps. Basically what he means is that the days of Yom Tov count towards the 30. Basically, after Yom Tov it's already after 30. So even though when he actually heard about it, it was still within the 30 territory, but the actual Avelus only gets activated after Yom Tov, and by now it's too late, it's already after 30. So it's a Shmur Rechaika, one day Avelus. Tani Rabbi Ada, the min Kisri. Rabbi Ada from the town of Kisri presented a halacha, Braisa Kamed Rabbi Yechon, a similar halacha regarding Shabbos. Shama Shmo Kreva b'Shabbos. It's Shabbos, and he hears tragic news, and it's still within 30 days. L'motzah Shabbos Nasis Rechaika. Motzah Shabbos, when it's time to actually activate the full-fledged Avelus, although on Shabbos you keep Dvarim Shabbat Hashamita, but full-fledged Avelus only gets activated after Shabbos. By now it's too late, it's already after 30. So say Shabbos was day 30, Motzah Shabbos it's past 30. What happens now? Is it as though he heard about it on Shabbos, and the Avelis gets activated then, or we ignore the fact that he heard about it on Shabbos? It's as though the news arrived right now, because it's only now that he can actually do something about the Avelis. It says Manu Avelis. It's only a one-day Avelis because we treat it as though he heard about it now. The Avelis gets activated now. It's relevant now. And now it's after 30. See, the Rashba asks a kasha on this Gemara. Shabbos should be different than Yom Tov. Yom Tov, there's no Avelis whatsoever, but Shabbos, there are Dvarim Shebetzina. Private Avelis does apply on Shabbos. So why do we treat it as though he only heard about it Matzah Shabbos? It was relevant on Shabbos as well. Let it be considered as though he heard about it and acted upon it on Shabbos. And at that point, it was still within 30. Says the Rashba. Interesting chap. He says, look, what are you trying to do now? You're trying to generate a situation where Shabbos will create an Avelis. The fact that he heard about it on Shabbos will lead us to conclude that it's a Shmoo Kroiva. It's a fresh news, which will require a full Avelis of 7 days, which will follow the Shabbos, during which he has to observe all the halachas of Avelis, not just Betzina, but for her, everything has to be done. So Shabbos, which only carries a limited potential, limited koyach of Avelis, will now generate a full-fledged Avelis after Shabbos. That you don't say. Interesting lumdus. So since the news arrived on Shabbos, which is not a time of a full Avelis arrangement, it hadn't really been activated yet. It only comes about after Shabbos. By now it's too late. Kereya or ine kereya. So Rashi learns a shaila is any Shmoo Rechaika. It's a half year later. Tragic news arrives. He has to keep 1 day of Avelis. So what about Kriya, tearing clothing? Does it apply at that point or not? Rab Moni Amar ine kereya. There's no Kriya. Kriya is specific to the time of death. The Gemara later says, B'shas chimum, when a person is experiencing that bitterness and that warmth and that agitation. But old news doesn't generate the same effect, doesn't have the Kriya requirement. Rabbi Chanina Amar Kriya. We can ignore the Chiv of Kriya. That's meant to take place even later on. Malay Rabbi Mani Rabbi Chanina, B'yishleim L'di, my shita works well. Damina in a Kriya. I hold there's no Kriya at this point. Hainu Deloika Avelis Shiva, because there is no Shiva anymore. He's keeping just a short-lived Avelis, and without Shiva there's no Kriya. El Didachta Amris Kriya, but according to you, there's Kriya at this late point. Kriya B'lei Shiva Mi'ika. How do you apply Kriya without Shiva? What do we find Kriya without Shiva? V'loi, really not. Vatani, we have a brayso. Is Yavud Rabbi Zera. V'amilo, some say Achva Rabbi Zera. So Isi, either the father or the brother of Zera, he presented a brayso, Kamed Rabbi Zera, which says, Mi she'en loi cholok echad, and mi she'en loi cholok l'kroya. He doesn't have his own shirt, he's wearing a friend's shirt, so he can't do kriya in his damlei, and a shirt becomes available to him later on, so it's besoich shiva, it's still within 7 days, kriya. He does kriya la'achar shiva and kriya, but if it's past shiva, kriya doesn't apply. Only Rab Zera Basrei, and Rab Zera responded, added to the brayso, b'me'adoim amurim. When does this hold true? B'chamisha meisa mitzvah, only regarding 5 of the 7 close relatives. Aval al ima, but father and mother, that's number 6 and 7. Kriya b'hoilach. Kriya applies even after Shiva. It's a clear brayso that Kriya is unconnected, unrelated to Shiva. That's a kasha on Rav Mani, who says Kriya and Shiva are linked. Answers the Gemara. Typically, Kriya is linked to Shiva. Kitanya hi, that brayso is speaking the covet of Avim. It's an aspect of covet, of honor. It's an expression of honor to parents. How can you go by this event without Kriya? This is not your typical Kriya requirement, which is unique and linked to the halacha of Shiva. So typically, Kriya and Shiva are linked to each other, but in this case, the special halacha of kavod of Avim. Tanu Rabban. So who are the relatives which a person is meant to be misabel? These are 7 relatives. 7 relatives that are mentioned in the Parsha of Kehanim. Kala Amar Pashas Kehanim. All those relatives mentioned in the Parsha of Kehanim, it's in the Pashas Emor. Shekoyin metamelahen, how much the kohen is meant to be metame, to tend to them, to be cover them. So those 7 relatives are the same ones that generate avelus. Avel misabel alein. Who are they? Ve'eluhen, Ishtoi, one's wife, Aviv, Ve'imoi, father, mother, Achiv, Achois, brother and sister. The pasuk actually says, Achoisoi ha-psula. She's still a psula, unmarried. But married is not on this list. The Chacham actually will add that in a minute, but Minat Torah, it's only Achois ha-psula, and 6 and 7 are B'noi Yubitoi, son and daughter. Ha'yisifu alein, Chacham added another couple. Brothers and sisters from both sides. A brother or an unmarried sister from his mother's side, so they share the same mother. So in the Torah we speak about a brother or sister from his father's side. But here we're going to add even the brother and sister with whom he shared a mother. Or even a married sister, whether from this side or from that side, doesn't matter. The reason why the Gemara has to spell it all out. You can't just say, well, a married sister, and we know. And that the unmarried sister is included as well. So I think it's the Ritva says the Gemara is just trying to go through all the cases and show that they're all really the Rabbanans, even if it's just one deficiency. An unmarried sister from the mother's side, that's also only the Rabbanan, because in Torah it's only an unmarried sister from the father's side. In any case, bottom line is when the Rabbanan, everything's included. We want to make things clear and consistent without room for confusion. All brothers are all sisters. Continues the Braisa, Geshem shemis abel aleim. Kachmis abel al shniim shlehem. Divir Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva holds, just as a person mourns upon the loss of his passing of his brother, sister, son, daughter, likewise, if they're sitting Shiva, their son, their father, their relative dies, he has to join them in their experience. It pertains to him as well. So even though it's not his direct relative, in a sense that it's not one of the Shiva Kroivim, but it pertains to him as well. Look, it's my close relative sitting Shiva. For his close relative, he has to join them. Reb Shimon Elazar Eimer, no. It only pertains to a grandson or grandfather. That's it. So 7 craven plus these. Any relatives upon which you have to observe Avelis. Mis'abel ima. You have to be mis'abel together with them and they're sitting Shiva. Which is really the same shita as Rabbi Kiva. Chacham, Hainu Tanakama, isn't the same as the Tanakama, meaning the Tana before Rabbi Shimon, the Rabbi Kiva. You must abel for the Shiva Kroivim and their relatives as well. So what's the difference between the shitas? There's one difference. Chacham say, a relative for whom you are misabel, when that relative is sitting Shiva, you have to be misabel. Ima indicates when they're together in the same home. Out of deference, out of covet to that relative who's sitting Shiva. You have to join him in his experience. But it's not your personal chiv, it's not your personal relative. So when you're together, you can ignore his plight. But if he's in a different place, you're not in his presence, you have no chiv avelis. For your relative's relative. Whereas Rabbi Kiva disagrees. Rabbi Kiva uses the term kol kishem shemis'abel aleim kach mis'abel al shniim shlehem, that one has to sit shiva on shniim of his relatives, his father's brother. It's your chiv to sit on your father's brother. It's your personal chiv, not just out of kavod to your father. Chacham disagree. It's only due to the kavod factor in their presence. Kiha, as we find the following story. The Rav tells Lechia Bre, his son Chia. Apparently Rav had a son Chia as well. V'chein Amalei Rav Huna l'Rabba Bre. Rav Huna tells his son, Rabba, when your wife is sitting Shiva Ba'apa in her presence, you can ignore her plight. Join her. Empathize with her. Noheg Avelusa. You be Noheg as Avelis as well in her presence. But Lo Ya'apa, but not in her presence. That's not your chiv. Lo Yitineg Avelusa, you don't have to be Noheg Avelis. Taisa says the Shaila, whether it means Dafka in front of her or even throughout the whole house, is called B'fanel. In any case, the point is, join that person in his experience. Mar Ukva, what happened to him? Shachav le Bar Chamor. the son of his father-in-law, meaning his brother, his wife's brother, passes away, and his wife's sitting Shiva. Shiva v'shleishim. He figured, okay, I have to join her in the Shiva and the Shleishim. It's my personal relative as well. Al Rav Huna l'gabei. Rav Huna visits Mar Ukva while he's sitting Shiva. Ashkechei. He notices him sitting Shiva. Amalei tells him in jest, Tzud naisa bois l'meichel. You're trying to eat the suda that they serve to the avel, trying to get the avel privileges. It's not your avelus. When we say that one has to join his wife in her avelus, it's the kavod ishta, and that only applies to very limited cases. Only when it's a father or a mother-in-law. So when a parent passes away, you have to join her in avelus. Father and mother, that's really close to home. That's an intense avelus. So out of kavod to these senior members of the family, you have to join her in the avelus. But just merely if it's merely her brother, you have no chiv to do that. So by the other relatives, we learn that father, right? So his brother requires you to sit Shiva as well in the presence of the father, because it's the kavod, the avel, because they're blood relative. It's closer. But by ishta, it's just through marriage. So her relatives aren't necessarily yours. Even this halacha of kavod doesn't apply. It's limited to father and mother, and that's it. The Sanya, as we learned in the Bryce. The Bryce says, Mi shemeis chama v'chamoisa. In the case of a father-in-law, mother-in-law passing away, you have to be sensitive to your wife. Ein rashay lokav as ishta. You can't force his wife lias kecheles to make up her eyes, lias pekeses, make do her ear. Not business as usual. Be sensitive to her plight. Not only do you have to accommodate her situation, you have to join her. Overturn your bed, join her in the avelus. V'cheini, same with her. Shemeis chomiyah v'chamoisa. Her father-in-law or mother-in-law passes away. Eina rasha. She can't just ignore the situation. She's not allowed to groom herself. Lias kecheles, lias pekeses. Ela koifa mitasa v'neyeges im avelus. She overturns her bed and joins him in his avelus. Clearly, one has to join the avelus of his spouse. V'tani idach. We have another Bryce. Af al bisha amru. Even though you can't compel your wife to just ignore her avelus, it's not my business. No, you have to be sensitive to her situation. But at the end of the day, it's not your avelus. You don't have to do anything. The accepted halacha is she could pour him his glass, make his bed. She washes his hand and feet. Perhaps it's a requirement. In any case, it's clear that he's going to wash his hands and feet. And Rotesa says, "B'chamin, hot water." That's not an avel. Now we have a stira. In Brisa number 1, we learned that he has to join his spouse in her avelus. It's his avelus as well. In deference to his wife's situation, in deference to the kavod of ishta. Brisa number 2 indicates he can just ignore the avelus. He doesn't have to experience avelus at all. Kashinadad. So what's the teretz? Depends who died. Apparently, this is the conclusion. Depends who passed away. Kan b'chamav v'chamoisai. Bryce and Abon is speaking about a father-in-law, mother-in-law. Says wife's Shiva, sitting Shiva on account of her parents. That's closer to home. That requires more sensitivity. And he has to actually join her in her Shiva, in her presence. He has to take part in it. Kan b'shakroivim. Bryce number 2, where he can ignore the Shiva, is speaking about other relatives. His brother-in-law, etc. In that case, he's not mechuyev to join. Shema mina, and that's a raya. Tanya namihachi, we have the same in a brayso. When we say a person has to join his wife in her avelus to give her honor, to give her kavod, that's only by elochame v'chamoisei bilvad. Okay, let's do a quick chazor of today's daf. We started with a shayla. During regel, one doesn't do giluach. There's no hair cutting. You cannot count for the shleishim. So we have two possible cases. One is a case where the kfura actually took place be Yom Tov itself, or when the kfura took place 2 days before Yom Tov, which allowed him to start his avelus. In both cases, the maskana of the Gemara is the regel counts leminyan shleishim. We learned that regel is mavatal shiva as well. We have two shittas. According to one shita, provided he's past the first 3 days. According to the second shita, Beis Hillel, even Shah Achas is enough, and that's the halach. How do we know that Avelis extends for 7 days? Or in the case of a Shmoo Rechaika, 1 day. V'afachti chagechem la'evel, the 2 types of chag. 7-day Yom Tovim, that's the typical standard Avelis. Shavuos, a 1-day Yom Tov, corresponding to the Shmoo Rechaika, which is only 1 day Avelis. What is Shmoo Rechaika? Old news, which arrives after 30 days since the actual event. We have 3 shitas regarding that case. According to one shita, business as usual. Shiva or Shleishim, no difference whether it's Shmoo Rechaika or Shmoo Kreiv. One shita says, well, Shmoo Rechaika is it's too far removed from the actual event. It's a 1-day thing. We have a third shita which adopts the middle ground. By Avi Imai, we require Shiva, but otherwise it's a 1-day Avelis. What if he hears the Shmoo on Yom Tov or on Shabbos? At that point, it's still within 30. On Motzei Shabbos and Yom Tov, he's about to implement the Avelis, it's past 30. We consider that a Shmoo Rechaika, and it lasts only for 1 day. What about a Shmoo Rechaika, which is already past the Shiva? Does he do Kriya? We have a machlekes. By Ava V'imui, the answer is yes. A special clause, l'kavod Ava V'imui. On which relatives are we misabel? The 7 Krovim, mentioned in Parshas Emor. What about if their relatives pass away? We are misabel imahen, l'chvoidam, and according to Chachamim Davka, when you're in their presence. By Ishtai, we downgrade a bit. He doesn't have to do the same regarding her relatives, aside from a father and mother. In that case, he has to join her, the kavod Ishtai. All the best, Psuras Tevis, and Atzlacha Rabbah.